Well, good afternoon. I believe this is going to be video number 17, but it's really 15 part 2. I decided there'll be a few more parts because there's just too much to tell you on how to work a business you have. I was relating yesterday, the day before actually, to an offline business I had back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And I left you with, we were working with two different beer distributors, same competitors in the same general area of central Maine, and how we would get into themes. And I had just come off the topic of paying attention to trends in the industry you're working at. So I'm going to pick up right from there because there's some really great nuggets coming up right now that I hope you take to heart, because it will work for an offline business, it'll work for an online business, or the combination of the two. In fact, the combination of the two is what the standard is today for sure. Okay, talking about trends. I talked to you that we started off with houseplants, a wave sweeping the country. We hit it timing right, didn't even know that, but we did. And after we saw that, we started paying attention to the other things. Read everything we could read from fashion magazines. That's a really good thing for everybody because it tells you what the colors are going to be great. And I learned way before most people that blue ink was now in and that signature should be that way. And today, that's what they're doing. Black ink went out. That's going to change eventually. But we learned that years ago, just before it's changed. And you could see downtown businesses change their color decor to bluish rather than what it was burgundy before. One of my best friends who owns a jewelry store there did that. And so you have to be on top of business industries in general, but let's get back to trends for your own industry. After the plant boom and we went into outdoor landscaping and then interior landscaping and consulting, which worked out really well, what the next big thing was at the time was balloons. I know, that sounds crazy, but every grocery store has them now. And when we were in business, grocery stores didn't carry what we were carrying. They didn't carry a cooler full of freshly arrangements or a lot of flowers. They had a few bouquets for, 50 cents, a couple of bucks, but that was it. And the grocery store saw the boom of the floral industry, and of course now they all have full floor departments, which hurt the flower industry a bit for sure. But balloons became really big, and we got into it to the tune of just thousands of dollars worth of inventory. Yes, the metal mylar ones that are inflatable and last quite a long time, and of course the latex balloons in so many colors. And what we did was create scenes or themes, as I mentioned, for the beer distributors. They wanted something special. They were going to have a wine tasting, beer tasting event, mostly for their retail buyers of their product, their wholesale buyers who were going to sell retail again. It wasn't open to the public. And I remember this one time after we had got into balloons and we expanded into other ideas, that they wanted a theme of education, one of them. And so we went and searched out and got four or five antique old classroom desks from the 1900s. You know, the kind that they used to be all stuck together, and there was a table with a thing that pulled up and wrought iron supports. And we made stick figure students out of PVC, wrapped them in balloons, smaller ones, and then had a chalkboard with wine sayings. I can't remember what we actually wrote to there. It took up, maybe a 20 by 20 area in the middle of this hotel conference room, ballroom. And then we would have balloon columns. We invented a floating column system. And we also had archways way before anybody else was doing this. This is back in early mid-80s. And archways with multicolors, and a color would swirl through it, the color of the logo of that company. And lights maybe, and then other stuff. It was just amazing, like going to a ballroom with all chandeliers, because these floating columns were like coming from the ceiling, and they were with lights in them, and they were just amazing. And we would do all that stuff, and it just blew people away, so we kept getting called for it. Before you know it, we were doing weddings with the same thing, big elaborate things, and it just went on and on. So we took advantage of the trend, got a really big inventory, and then we got creative, and we made a point of standing out from the rest. And I'm going to tell you that's the big nugget right there. If you're going to be looking at trends, don't be hesitant to get involved. See if some of the trends fit your business, and then sit down with the leaders in your team and see if you can be creative in a mastermind type situation. It doesn't take a long time. You can do it over a couple of beers at your local happy hour. Only get away from the group so you can have some thinking process and quietness for just your team. And actually write down and then figure out how you're going to do that. I mean, we started to make the balloon columns and the balloon archways, and had 4 or 5 people blowing them up. And what we discovered was not everybody blew balloons up to the same roundness. Didn't work. And so we got some cardboard crates, I don't know, maybe 3 by 3 that some supplies came into, and they were empty. We were going to throw them away, but we decided we had a way to fix that problem so we could have automation, not automation, but at least duplication of effort and kind of assembly line product so that we could make these faster, because we would spend initially into them wee hours of the morning trying to get all that stuff made and then put together. Okay, we solved that problem. How did we do that? We took these boxes and we figured what was a good size of balloon size, and then we took a circular device and made a hole in each box of that size. And then we bought electric pumps, just air pumps, no big expense. They were like 20, 30 bucks a piece. Bought 2 or 3 of those, and we just put the balloon on it till it was bigger than we thought, hold it to that box and let it out a little bit, and as soon as it would fit through the hole, tie it. And we found a way to tie it really fast, with or without a string. If you were making an archway, you didn't need a lanyard through it, but if you did, it was still easy. And we developed that, and we made some elaborate stuff with that way, but that solved the issue of time and duplication. And I believe if you pay attention to that nugget of how to think through problems, I got some more I'm going to tell you about it. That's a different video because they're not in this one today about the trends. But I think you'll find that really help you really think through some of the issues you are having now, finding how to stand out or what you can do special even if others are doing it, how you can make it yours. All right? I also left you off, this was going to be a lot shorter than the other part 1 at 22 minutes. I also left you off with target marketing, and I'm going to give you a sample of that right now. In the flower industry, and again, we had moved from houseplants under lights or inside in windows to outdoor landscaping to interior plantscaping to the balloon trend, and now we were into the flower shop. We had all 5 divisions. Actually, I'll be honest with you, after a couple of years of having the heartache of trying to find a crew and then letting them go, because they did a good job, but we didn't need them in our other businesses, we decided to undo landscaping, and we took that off the branches of the tree. We got into boating, and we took a lot of the summer off, and landscaping in Maine is just the summer. And so that worked out well. We kept a few, the beer distributor type people, clients, because they wanted us to, and we did, sculpting of their stuff, not just digging holes. But that's okay. That's what we did. So we did get rid of one of those divisions. But initially we had 5. And it created multiple streams of income, and it satisfied the whole year. That's another nugget. Multiple streams of income is really good in business. So when one's up and some are down, you're never down, and you can still meet your responsibilities and commitments. Target marketing. In the flower industry, there's lots of creative days that have turned into week holidays at the moment. One of them is Secretary's Day. Real big. And I mean super big when we were in the business, when we didn't have the competition of the grocery stores and Costco and that kind of thing. They didn't exist then. And it was our goal to make sure we did well, is we got one of the classes I said in the first video, part 1 of this, that we would go everywhere for education and marketing. What flower shop business was doing great in Massachusetts or Vermont or Connecticut. We wanted to know what they were doing and what the success ratios were, because we wanted to always be the leader and stand out to the rest of the crowd and attract the suits, and which worked. One of the things was getting to be big was flyers, direct mail. It wasn't ever done before. And there was a gal in town who had bought a big expensive piece of equipment that was digital a little bit. And we could tell her what we wanted, and she would key it in and show us a proof. And we created regular 8.5 by 11 paper, not real expensive, not heavy stock. And we would come up with 3 or 4 designs for Secretary's Day and have 3 price ranges. And invariably, 80% of the people would choose the middle one, and we knew that in advance from seeking out information and counsel and mentorship from other places, other states. And so that one was always the most profitable one. The high-end one was a little bit lower margin, and the low one was break-even with a little bit of, was a good margin, but the middle one was always the best. And we counted on that happening, and sure enough it did. It got to be predictable, and that was kind of cool. How did we target market? We created what I call our VIP membership to special offers and deals. You can do that today. I do that with SMS text message marketing. We'll talk about that another day through a short code cell phone number that's just a godsend if you want to get instant business and target something. But I'm not going to talk about how that works today. But we didn't have that then. There were no cell phones. And so we got all of the business owners, small business owners, the big beer distributors, corporation, all those things. We had them there because we were popular. They were coming to our store, and we made sure that they got taken care of. And we'll talk about customer service on another video. And so we had all their mailing addresses. And we started to have a computer system that was, we kept track of stuff. It wasn't point of sale. That came later because we did do that. And anyway, we would create this flyer, and we would send it out to the address of that company. We sent out hundreds of them. And we wouldn't send it to the owner of the company. Here's the nugget of target marketing. We sent it to the secretary of that owner. Now, she's the secretary for Secretary's Week. And she was in charge of the other people in the office, whether it was a billing secretary or a law firm that had multiple secretaries in a pool. Whatever that was, we sent to the one in charge. It took a while to find all those names and stuff out. But remember, I was making calls on some of these corporations to do the interior landscaping, so I was meeting with these gatekeepers anyway. And if you're nice and be genuine and authentic, which I think you're getting the point out of these videos because I don't have a professional crew here, and you mean well, and they know you want to make a buck, but they want to do the right thing too, you know you can get the information that you want most of the time. And so we would send these things to the secretary, the chief one, if we could. And it would inevitably, 3 days before Secretary's Day, the phones would be off the hook with the secretary having that, or would get mailed back to us, circling some of the designs, how many of this one, how many of that one, with a separate note of what the names were for everything. I mean, and of course the high-end one was going to her, or him, mostly her at that time. And that was great, because that was just great. Even though the profit margin was smaller on that one, it was just a really good thank you. And that's why we made that one that way. I mean, that worked so well for 15 years. We just were swamped at Secretary's Day. We started doing it for other holidays, and that presented some problems on other holidays, and that's going to be another video on how do you create some solutions as you scale up your business. Because scaling up is where you want to go if you want to make bigger bucks than, 50, 60 grand a year. I wasn't happy with that. I'll give you a hint. I told you the last part one of this video that we became the #1 flower horticultural business for 20 years, a little over 20 years. And we did that by a lot of different reasons. You've got a few in these 2 video parts. I'm going to stop here for this one. And we even beat out the business that was there for 60 years, maybe going on to 80 to 100 years. It was 2nd or 3rd generation. And I'll tell you about that another time. All I want you to know is today, be conscientious of trends. Study your business and other businesses, and study Fashion Week, or how are you going to find out about ink color, what colors are coming up. Study things that can give you an edge or a different slant on your business that people will pay attention to because you can talk about it. And then you become knowledgeable and confident in what's going on. Follow trends, really work on target marketing, and I'll give you some answers for the other topics I just mentioned in part 3. You have a good one. Ciao.